So today again another chapter for ages second year students, and this is the last chapter from world politics portion, that is globalization. So from this chapter you will have to study about what is globalization, causes of globalization, then its consequences of globalization. So far as globalization is concerned, it means actually globalization, it is a process. It is a process of integrating state markets with that of world market. So what is globalization? It is a process of integrating state markets with the world market. So it is a system through which interdependence of the country has developed, and there what we will find that there is free flow of socio-economic interdependence of the country. So mainly globalization is a concept which is related with economic activities. It is mainly related with economic activities, and number of sorry we just have to use the and so globalization is mainly related with economic activities, and the thinkers always thought that the whole world is a global village. There is interdependence and cooperation among this country, especially in economic field. So they have said that it means it is a process of integrating the state market, that means state economic system, with that of world economic system. And all of us are aware of the fact that actually the economy control the political and cultural setup of the country even. So if economic interdependence is there, automatically its influence will be there in the cultural field as well as in political and social field, etc. So globalization means interdependence of the country. The concept is that whole world is a global village and there is interdependence, especially in the economic field. So what are the circumstances which actually lead to the development of the concept of globalization? Because this particular concept is developed uh, in the last part of the after the disintegration of Soviet Russia, actually this concept has started. So why this concept is started, or what are the causes of globalization? Mainly development in the field of science and technology. Huge improvement took place in the field of science and technology, and that is why it's become easier to maintain contact with one another by using that technological know-how and technological knowledge, etc. Then collapse of communism. That means in 1989, so there was no Soviet Russia. Whole world was actually moved towards unipolar system. That means the capitalist countries become the more powerful leaders of the world, and there was disintegration of Soviet Russia. So bipolar system was not there, and capitalist countries are always very much interested to control the economic activities of other countries instead of spreading their ideologies. So because of the disintegration of Soviet Russia, that system, that actually globalization in one form of or another is always there, but it become much more speedy, or it become much more what I can say, that it become much more visible only after the disintegration of Soviet Russia. Then there is a revolution in information technology and electronic media, etc. Yes, earlier we never heard about IT sector and all these things. Now IT sector is very familiar terms for everyone, and everyone we are using the benefits of IT sectors and that information technology, and thus it is very much easier for the people nowadays to keep contact with other countries. The give and take system, the management of financial system or monetary system, all these things become much easier because of the revolutionary change in information technology and that of the electronic media. And that is also another reasons for the development of the concept of that was globalization. Okay, then development in trade and commerce. Most of the countries, trade and commerce is developed in most of the countries, and those which are poor countries, they were actually they have taken what I can say, the loan from various international economic organizations. So those organizations also force them to adopt the principle of globalization, and they should have to maintain relation with other countries, and for that the improvement of trade and communication is very necessary. And nowadays the improvement in the trade and communication sector is also very much visible. So it is also another cause for the development of the concept of globalization. Then growth of MNCs means multinational companies. Nowadays multinational companies are working everywhere, their branches are there everywhere. They are giving job to the aspirant of various countries, including underdeveloped countries. There is very much scope for the young generation to move from one place to another through the means of multinational companies, and from in that process ultimately a give and take attitude had developed. So that is also responsible for the development of the concept of globalization. Then increased free flow of capital and goods. Most of the countries, they had realized that if there is some restriction in trade and commerce, if there is some tariff imposed on trade and commerce, then that was not working properly for the economic development of their own country, or for the development of, or for maintaining their growth rate. So most of the countries, including India, they all of them have adopted the principle of free trade nowadays. So there is free flow of capital and goods from one country to another country. There is no trade restriction or trade barrier. So all these things are responsible for this. Then increased dependence of the nations. Nowadays most of the countries are dependent on one another, especially those who are the underdeveloped countries or the countries of the north. They were unable to survive without taking help from the developed countries, and developed countries are actually controlling all those international economic organizations. So in that process, either intentionally or the situation bound them to depend on other countries. So that is also responsible for the development of the process of globalization. And so far as consequences of globalization is concerned, you can divide it into various steps like political consequences, economic consequences, cultural consequences, etc. So far as political consequences is concerned, those countries which are underdeveloped countries, especially regarding those countries, critics are saying that because of the spread of the concept of globalization, and as the poor countries are dependent very much on the rich countries, so they were bound to follow the instruction of the rich countries, and in that way they are actually compromising with their sovereignty. What is the meaning of sovereignty? Sovereignty means supreme power. But if you are unable to frame your own policies and program, and if you are following the dictation of others because others are helping you, especially in economic field, then automatically you are making compromise with your supreme power or sovereignty. And they are also saying that state are nowadays, they are losing their original status. Originally state was omnipotent, state was more powerful, state was actively involved in each and every affairs. But nowadays, because of the existence of MNCs and because of the call of privatization, the importance of states or significance of the state are gradually losing. But still we have to remember that still state are much powerful organization, and still rivalries are there between the state, and still we found that mad race is also still present among the state to become as much powerful as possible. So though because of some outward pressure, state made some compromise with their supreme power, but still then state is playing a very important role in international scenario. So that is the political impact. And so far as economic impact is concerned, some good and some bad effects are there, especially because of this rule of MNCs and all these things, especially the rich countries, they are very much benefited, but those which are poor countries, they are their own companies, and those who are their small or petty businessmen, they are suffering very much because of the competition from the outside world, because because nowadays people can purchase anything even by living in a very small state or a small town, everything. So their scope of choice become much more wider, but in that process ultimately the petty businessmen or the small businessmen or the retail businessmen, they are actually suffering in very much in economic field so far as poor countries are concerned. But another thing is also that because of the existence of various multinational companies and because of easier going and coming to foreign countries or abroad, it's become easier, little bit easier for the young generation to get the job according to their own choice, and they are in a position to raise the standard of living of their own, and this type of things are going on. But in that process, brain drain, or people are leaving their own country and going to another country and serving that country, that process is also continuing. So these type of things are there. And so far as cultural side is concerned, because of this improvement of transport and communications, information technology, etc., all of us are aware of the fact that what type of culture is going on in other countries, and especially the eastern countries are somehow or other influenced by the western culture, western civilization, tradition, etc., and there is a kind of homogeneous culture throughout the world. But actually it is not a homogeneous culture, it is actually a western culture that actually try to influence the whole world. We can take the example of McDonaldization, then we can give the example of jeans culture, we can give the example of fast food culture, etc. These things are earlier not visible in a country like ours, but even in a village area also nowadays people are accustomed with this type of culture. So instead of cultural homogeneity, the influence of western culture are very much there, especially among the eastern countries. But in spite of that, because of in spite of that homogenization, because of the development of social media and etc., people nowadays are also benefited, or they can use the social media for protection of their own culture. So simultaneously, along with the homogeneous culture, people are trying to safeguard their own identity also. So these are in a nutshell about the impact of globalization. And so far as India is concerned, India also adopted the principle of globalization. There was no way out. So India also following the principle of free trade, then liberalization, privatization, etc. But in spite of that, India's government is very much strong, and still the government of India or the state of India is playing a very important role in the life of the in giving a shape to the life of the citizens of their own country. And but in spite of that, we are also facing some negative aspects of globalization, that is sure. So these are in nutshell here. You can write about the criticism also. Criticism you can write for the existence of globalization, what happened. The differences between the rich and the poor are increasing day by day. Then those who are the underdeveloped countries, they are actually compromising with their own sovereignty. Then multinational companies, they are raising their own standard. But the poor countries, they are unable to compete with that multinational companies, and their own companies are started starving nowadays. So, and in cultural side also, people are following some new trends or new cultures which are not suitable for themselves. So, and brain drain system is also a result of that globalization. Now it is become very easier to go to abroad and settle there. So after studying in your own country, after getting degree, you are leaving the country. So that is also a problem of globalization. All these things are there. So you study about that. What is globalization? Globalization, always remember, it is an economic concept. It means economic dependence among the country, or to link your own market with global market. Okay, and after that, that political, social, or cultural influence will come. So, and remember what are the causes for the adoption, for the emergence of globalization in such a um, manner, and it is mainly because of the disintegration of Soviet Russia. So thank you. From my next class I will start the second portion, that means from Indian political system.